Hey everyone, how's it going? If you made it to this little internet checkpoint here, then welcome. This is a small epilogue, okay, well maybe not so small, there's lots to talk about today, but it's an epilogue to the 1v7 Chosen Bots video that I just released, as well as an important conversation for the future of these here parts, so if that's of any interest to you, then strap right in. That project was so massive in so many ways that I'll get into later, but right now I just want to address a few things to you guys, the community. The first thing is, thank you. I'm not gonna lie, I took a pretty large risk making that video. You don't want to know how long it took, trust me, and given that it could just decease in the algorithm, especially since interest in Brawlhalla is cyclical and the wave of Battle Pass and Moonin has already died down, it could have completely flopped, but the support has been overflowing. I've read all of your messages on YouTube, every single one, I promise. DMs is a little bit different, I'm kind of backed up on those since 2020, but YouTube and Twitch, even if I can't reply to everyone, it's so cool to see that you guys like something that I poured myself into. That it was a good video, despite any feelings I may have about my own abilities. As a creative, you run into doubt constantly. You want to make something good, but it's a strange balance between not becoming narcissistic and trying to be proud of your work when you're staring at yourself, or listening to yourself while editing 12 hours a day. I'm gonna be honest, it's too much of me. I need something else. I can't keep hearing my own voice and saying, but then I had this run. Okay, I'm half joking, but you get the idea. Also, I totally yoinked that phrase from Summoning Salt. Shout out Summoning Salt, thank you. But yeah, when you get super deep into something, be it a video or a book or a game or a relationship even, you may start running into worry about reality. Whether this is actually good, actually something you care about, or if you've just sunk cost fallacied your way into liking it. Or Stockholm Syndrome? I don't know, both of those probably work. In those moments, it's really important to have a North Star, something or someone to keep you grounded. Much of the essence of artistic expression, in my experience, comes from something that feels just natural. It's hard to articulate it down into concrete shapes or strings of words because it feels beyond just logical thought. But at the same time, it can be scary to follow that because it's so inconsistent, so turbulent. Without going into too much detail, the past few months have been wrought with a big ol' extra serving of self-doubt and fatigue. I know I'm not alone there, so being able to create something, complete a project that can fill up that void of expression, something that I feel represents a good number of layers of myself, something that I'm proud of, it means a lot. It matters. It's crazy to think about that this just didn't exist before, and now it does. And it's because of me. I made something. To most people, it'll just be some 40 minutes of entertainment or distraction or something they simply don't care about, and that's awesome. That's the goal. It doesn't need to be something special for everyone because it's special to me. Sure, it's just a video, and the role of a video isn't necessarily supposed to be life-changing to the viewer. At the very least, this one isn't. It's just a fun challenge and all that. Certainly have a laundry list of videos I've watched that have been life-changing, but I digress. The point is, it might just be a long .mp4 of a 2D Flash game, but in a way, it's a reflection of myself right now at this moment in time. And it's kind of amusing and probably pretty fitting that this video started out kind of as a joke, or the script did at least. I don't know how many of you know Nathan For You, but it's a great show where this dude Nathan tries to help out businesses in unconventional ways. I don't really want to say anymore because in the very, very off chance that you choose to watch it, I don't want to rob you of a nice giggle or, you know. But at the start of every episode, he lays out an absolutely stupid, ridiculous plan for how he's gonna help out this business, and it always goes like, the plan, we're gonna drop our premium TVs to be worth just $1, so Best Buy's price match policy has to drop their TVs to be worth $1, then we can go into their store, buy every single TV for a single dollar, and then sell it at the actual price back at our own store. It's stuff like that. Yeah, anyway, my first version of the script just had quick lineups of each progressive challenge like that, and then I'd go, the plan, and I'd say some ridiculous nonsense that obviously I would never think of ahead of time, but I'd work it to match up with the gameplay, so there's some nice callback potential and all that. It sounds about as boring as it was, but that's how it all began. The whole project was also a complete change in style and approach. You could kind of look at it not just as, is it possible to beat 7 chosen bots at the same time, but is it possible to make something fundamentally uninteresting, interesting in other ways? Because I mean, look, 90% of the gameplay is baiting off stage, then dying and then resetting, so how can I turn that into something that it's not? And something I'm really proud of is I just kind of followed my gut and it worked out. Through narrative, power, music, editing, I feel like I was able to completely alter the mood while simultaneously retaining the essence of what's actually important, the gameplay. It was a very enthralling challenge that required new tools, techniques, software, confidence. I got so much better at editing over the course of it that I had to go back and redo the earlier sections because of how much of a stark difference it was to the latter half of the video. You can probably piece together some of it if you watch back with a careful eye, but I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that'll be crazy enough to notice. And with all that said, I still feel like I'm not great at editing at all. I just got slightly less not good. You know, improvement. It's cool, it feels good. The better you get, the more you realize how much there is to learn, which is probably why you'll see novices or intermediates at stuff presume they know way more than they do. I don't know, Google the Dunning-Kruger or something. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on that, although that would be quite ironic. Although I can look back with rosy eyes about the journey, the experience, the skills, and the final result all feeling worth it, it certainly wasn't easy. To peel back the curtain a little bit here, and hopefully it doesn't take away from your experience of it, because end of the day I'm happy in spite of it, it was a financial disaster from an opportunity cost standpoint, a massive loss. If we're talking wallet, then pouring time into big individual projects is not really worth it, at least not until you can afford to. A hard truth that you kind of have to grapple with if you have an artistic tendency and also want to turn it into a job is at some point along your journey you recognize that you don't need to make good work. People don't care, and why should they? You just need to make good enough work, and you'll be rewarded way, way, way more for doing so. And if you're trying to fill a creative outlet with it, then that thought saps your soul away. It's a thought of, why do I try doing something that ew, yuck, gross, I care about, and is important to me, cringe, when I can just clock in as a drone and do 100th of the work for the same exact analytic result. It's an opportunity, so take advantage, right? But at times it feels like each option completely restricts the other. Do you work to succeed but feel miserable doing so, or do you work with a constant risk of failure but feel fulfilled in the experience? It's a mental back and forth. Being a creative, whether it's writing, sculpting, creating content, it can be an amazing job. You get to support yourself doing what you love. That's incredible. There's a laundry list of perks, and by no means do I want to come across like I'm taking any of that for granted. In many ways, it's a privilege to even have the chance to confront this psychological game of tug of war. After all, the idea of having options is simply not the case for everyone. But at the same time, I think it's valuable to show another side of it because, well, every single creative I've talked to, every single one is stressed out of their minds. And that sucks because art, whatever form it's in, gives color to life, to the audience, to everyone it seems except for the person creating it. Not all the time, and probably not the individual work itself, but certainly to the systems they operate under. If I want to make this a career, which I really, really do, then I should just rip a ranked video every day, 365 days a year. I'll be so much more successful. It'll give me that opportunity, so what am I doing? I should just keep grinding harder and harder and harder and harder. If my goal is to make this my job, then what kind of idiot would I be to not take those steps to pursue it? And to be clear, I don't mind ranked videos at all, they're fun to make. But the point is that even if it's garbage quality comparatively to the bigger projects, the passion projects, whatever you want to call it, the reward will be all the same. And to be more clear, I'm also not blaming people that watch it. I'm not bitter towards the audience at all. It's just how things work as an entertainer, and coming to terms with that is what's difficult. Again, good enough work. So that's the mental back and forth. Every action I take that's not optimal performance is a statistical loss. Any morning, afternoon, evening I'm not working towards that is another stack of personal failure to put up on that shelf. And that very line of thinking, that Russell grind set, can directly clash with any and all creative spirit that drove whatever you're doing in the first place. This idea right here is why I'm making this video, because I know not everyone watching makes content, and I know every word that I'm saying runs the risk of coming across as entirely out of touch and inconsiderate despite my own intentions and best efforts, but strangely enough, there's not a single doubt in my mind to continue doing it because I have a sneaking suspicion that this will resonate with way more people than I could ever know. Okay, hearing that out loud absolutely sounds like an egomaniac. What do you think, Billy? Oh, that's not good. In a sense, I feel like much of our lives is a performance. We're just dancing along to the beat of this song that nobody can actually hear. We're taught to think, maybe from family or media or culture in general, in these discrete equations that explain how the world works. Raise your arm up here and plant your feet right here, and that's how you're supposed to do things. That's how things are supposed to operate. But without any music, going through those motions feels hollow. Discovering the nuanced, multi-layered nature of just being a person can feel so lonely, especially when it also feels like the show must go on and everyone's dancing around you. You're always marching forward towards time, hoping that one step along the way will be the one, the moment you figure things out, the moment you can stop comparing yourself to others and trying to do things the right way. But how are you supposed to know? It looks like everyone around you has it figured out. They're probably dancing, they probably hear the music, but maybe they've just gotten really good at shadowing the moves. Who knows? So you keep dancing too, you keep working, keep on the grind, because that's supposed to get you to your goals, which are supposed to make you happy. And then, and only then, can you afford to stop and listen for the beautiful melody, the thing that gives dimension and bliss to your limited time here. Only then are you permitted to figure out who you are, find your own path, whatever that means. It brings up an existential question of importance. Do you sacrifice a chunk of your future to rest and enjoy the present, because that's damn important? But if you do that, will you lose out on all the future enjoyment? Will you never be able to rest again? It's a seesaw, and everyone has a different balance. If I was talking about this 1 year ago, I'd say the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, but now I don't think so at all. What I've realized is that it's not binary. One doesn't necessarily negate the other because nothing in the future is final yet. It literally does not exist, as much as the anxious thoughts in my head try to convince me it does. There's no PEMDAS rule to follow here, doing the parentheses first so you can ensure that you can then do the exponent. It isn't a law on Mother Gaia. Certainly it may often follow, work to the bone and you get success, bing bang boom, but there's way more dimensions to how things operate, and that also assumes that that'll work, which often it doesn't. That's a completely separate conversation though. It's a butterfly effect kind of deal. You just have no idea what'll eventually sprout from the seeds you're planting today. Unless you're playing like Stardew Valley, but even then if you plant the wild seeds, it's random. Shut up! In fact, if you are an artist, if you have a passion, it might turn out that stopping to envelop yourself in that beautiful melody might be the thing you need to keep on dancing, who knows? Burnout is a very real thing, especially if you're a creative, and maybe following the path of the grind set might rob your ability from performing your art at all. So maybe that's not the right way, and maybe it's all about doing it your way. Also, I think we can all agree it's kind of amusing that I'm talking all about art and creative spirit and everything, and I'm literally commentating over Brawlhalla gameplay, but it's just what I'm thinking about. Sick transition, something else that I think about a lot, and I mean a lot, is social media. I've realized these feelings of inability and inadequacy towards simply being content seem to be heightened, exacerbated by the stream of constant comparison to thousands of other people every day. It feels like our brains just weren't built for that kind of exposure. Of course we're gonna look down on ourselves when you see how incredible others seem to be doing, and when your social value is calculated and presented to you as a concrete statistic. We all know socials make us feel awful in the long run, and we know taking breaks from the bombardment of outside opinion can give you time to develop a stronger sense of self, and that the answer lies somewhere in recognizing your intrinsic worth and developing confidence so those outside forces don't bother us. But how the hell are you supposed to do that? Why is it so hard to disconnect? I'm gonna make another strange analogy here, so bear with me. Social media is like ice cream. Now, I would say cigarettes or vapes, because I think that's probably a more accurate comparison from the standpoint that, like I said, we know it's bad for us, but that projection onto the compounded future of doing a lot doesn't seem real, and the present relief very much is, but I've never smoked, so we're talking ice cream. Ice cream is great. It's delicious, it's wonderful, it brings that quick comfort. It's unhealthy in chunks over time, and especially bad for those prone to worse. We're talking lactose intolerant here. Hello, that's me. Maybe it's a metaphor for anxiety or something. You'll see what I'm talking about. But imagining a world without it existing is strange. I grew up with it as a given. It's part of my known reality. But at some point before my time, there wasn't any ice cream at all. Some human is the first person to ever taste it, and so by definition, there wasn't a need to resist the temptation of ice cream until ice cream existed, and pretty much everything is the same way. There's no behavioral or biological reason to reject a cigarette unless cigarettes exist. And along the same line of thought, the invention of social media inextricably also invents the idea of resisting it. The difference between ice cream and socials, though, is that one of them is designed from the onset to take advantage of every gap in the human psyche to increase traffic and sight time with little regard for any individual well-being as the package of collective user drives up the bottom line, and the other is yummy. Maybe an awful analogy if you go anywhere past the service level, but I think it illustrates my point. You already know someone's gonna come in with the, well, actually, the ice cream industry. Okay, I didn't mean it, John Haagen-Dazs. It's really easy to say, don't use it, don't get addicted, but it's a completely different landscape when you grow up with it as a given. Social media addiction and the resulting online dopamine exhaustion just didn't exist until it did. Obviously, duh, I'm not saying anything profound there, but sit with that thought for a second. It's kind of weird. It's an entirely new, unique, modern problem with little historical comparison due to the algorithmic nature of its design. It's how we interact with each other, communicate. Our real-life conversations are continuations of our online conversations, which themselves are incomplete emulations, a simulacrum of real life. It's not that living in today's world is harder in many countries, and in most aspects it's way better. It's just that the advancement of aggressive technology has also crossed paths with the advancement of society, and we've now got these new obstacles that'll take time to figure out. I imagine the first ice cream lovers didn't know they should sometimes resist it to avoid, I don't know, type 2 diabetes, and the humans of even 20 years ago didn't know they would eventually have to resist social media to avoid developing a chronically connected performative existence. I may just be entirely naive, and hey, call back to the Dunning-Kruger, but it feels like nothing in the entire history of humankind has so efficiently and so effectively captured the minute-to-minute attention of such a massive scope of people. No movie or song, no drug, no religion even. It's completely unprecedented, which alone inspires awareness, and knowing its potential for very real mental damage spawns generational concern. And at the same time, here I am, working within those exact systems, talking to you from a place of first world technological privilege where these issues can exist. I've wrestled a lot with that thought. Am I hypocritical for benefiting from something that I think has a big effect on heightening hopelessness and dread, at least among my peers? Does my dream job doing this for a living necessitate that the money machines that maximize growth and profits, irregardless of how they abuse our brain's weaknesses and aggravate mistrust and unrest within their user base, must keep on spinning because they're paying my bills? Am I, and many others, addicted to socials? Not necessarily in the sense of it destroying my life or anything, but in the behaviors of repeated engagement and performance despite little feeling of reward, and often a growing sensation of resentment. I don't know. I'm just a kid. I'm still figuring things out. And to be honest, I don't think every adult has got it either. That's probably a projection based on the shadow dances fallacy I talked about. But what I do know is this. I've deliberately taken a step back in many ways. That doesn't mean I'm creating less at all. It's more so that my relationship with the engagement of it is shifting. And the result is good. It's hard to describe, but for someone that's desired career is inherently online, I can't shake the feeling that this online landscape is a near completely falsified reality. Every time I use a platform, I can't help but overanalyze the meta level behind every interaction. I hope that phrase isn't hijacked by the Zuck. It inspires a strange sense of disconnected empathy. While I may know nothing about the person behind the other screen, what they say may come from the heart or be a passing comment, it could be completely genuine or a flat-out lie, here we are both using the same devices, the same functions to put on some kind of show. To feel important. The way I'm painting it may make it seem all bad, but that's not it at all. Social media has cultivated some remarkable things, genuinely connected people, and at times is an awesome positive force for change and progress. Personally, I've made some of my most treasured memories and met fantastic people through it. Things aren't really black and white like that. It just feels really important to understand the structure of things, why they're operating the way they are, because otherwise it can be confusing and at times very overwhelming. I don't think social media itself is bad or good, it just exists as a tool to serve a need we've had since the beginning of humanity. And so it's this balancing act between the predatory corporate infrastructure and the potential for enrichment and joy. And it's so odd. The less I look at every word as a definitive mark to inform my impression of a person and impression of myself, and the more I zoom out to see it as just a variable within an existing structure, it's way easier to distinguish what's real and what's manufactured, what's important to me that I want to hold on to at all costs, and what's okay to let go. I've watched Bo Burnham's comedy special Make Happy quite a number of times, each at a different point in my life. If you haven't seen it already, there's little I would recommend more, and I'll avoid any big spoilers if I can. When I saw it the first time, I was 16, alone, soullessly playing through a modded, cracked version of Skyrim. That was a joke, Bethesda. It must have been 4 or 5 in the morning, and all I was doing really was staying awake as long as I could every night to escape life the next day, and I didn't realize I really needed a laugh. When I saw it at 18, I was moving across the country alone, leaving my familiar life behind, and so nothing seemed more poignant than listening to those familiar jokes and hearing those familiar songs. And now at 20, as a supposed creator, what resonates with me the most is his succinct but moving commentary on performance and social media. In hopes of avoiding any kind of Netflix strikedown, I'll show as little of the clip as possible, but they're words that really struck me. What he said was social media is the market's answer to a generation that demanded to perform. So the market said, here, perform everything to each other all the time for no reason. It's prison, it's horrific, it is performer and audience melded together. What do we want more than to
lie in our bed at the end of the day and just watch our life as a satisfied audience member? I know very little about anything, but what I do know is that if you can live your life without an audience, you should do it. And now you're thinking, how the f are you gonna dig the show out of this weird hole?
Good question. This is a video about chosen bots, right? It's just something I'm thinking about. With all that said, with a couple analogies that I don't know if it makes sense to anyone but me. It makes a lot of sense to me. Help me out. It'd be great if I was more articulate, not my strongest suit, but whatever. That brings us to the end. The end of an era. I've mentioned it a couple times before, but things are gonna change around here real soon. I'm re-entering society at the beginning of January, and my ability to commit to this virtual journey in this little quarantine time pocket dimension, probably shouldn't try to phrase it cutely like that, but that's how we cope, it's soon coming to a close. What the future holds is uncertain, and that's fine. What I do know is this project, this 1v7 Chosen Bots video that had me confront myself in a host of different ways, is the last one I can make like this, at least for a while. I'm glad I finished it up before my other responsibilities kicked it to the curb because I don't like the feeling of leaving it unfinished when it meant a lot to me. I've still got one big O project I've been working on for almost 2 years now, the anxiety commentary, which you've probably heard shades of in here, so hopefully I can have the time to work on that one day, maybe next summer, here's hoping. But in the meantime, I'll put up videos when I can. Nothing will be of the scale of The Chosen, not even close to being close, but I love this. It's what I want to do, so I'm gonna keep doing it. So I think it's fitting to say that this will mark the end of Egg Soup Season 1. It's been a really fun ride, and thank you for watching my videos. I have no idea what comes next, but I'll tackle that when we get there. Seriously, I mean this, take care everyone, and here's to Season 2.